We are go for liftoff in T-minus 30.
It's the Weiliotis podcast.
I like it.
All right, welcome back, everybody, to episode 2 of the Weiliotis podcast, where we discuss a particular movie or director's body of work, break down its various facets, and share our general love for the motion picture. With me, as always, is my good friend, my writing partner and co-host, the great, the wonderful Mikey Wheel.
What's going on? How are you, Tom?
I'm doing pretty good today. I just worked a 12-hour shift, but I feel pretty good, honestly.
Now you're doing this. And we do want to apologize to our 3 listeners that we haven't put out a new episode in a couple weeks. Tom's been traveling. I'm still getting settled in, just moved across the country. So there's a lot going on. But we've also been doing some background stuff as well. We created a Facebook, an Instagram, a Twitter. Our Twitter is at Weiliotis. Our Facebook and Instagram are the Weiliotis podcast. You can find us on YouTube and then Buzzsprout, Spotify, a couple other places. And then also we do have a website that's in the workings right now. So we'll have the WeiliotisPodcast.com pretty soon. And I think Mark will appreciate this as a big fan, I think, of this actor's work. Once again, we have to always point out that this is not a Ray Liotta podcast. It just sounds like it is. That's just Weiliotis is the two of our names put together. And on that note, I guess we'll bring in our first guest. This is the first guest we've ever had on the podcast, which is very exciting. He is not only my cousin, he also wrote and directed the 2013 film Fat, starring Mel Rodriguez. The movie made its way up to TIFF in Canada. His next movie, Fear of Flying, like a lot of productions, got pushed back. It is going to be starting up hopefully early next year, another movie he's writing and directing. Everybody give it up for Mark Phinney.
Hey guys, thank you for having me, guys.
Thank you for coming.
Yeah, thank you.
This is and I will say another one of your credits is that I believe you are the one and only Uncut Gems like prodigy, and that's exactly what we're talking about today is the Safdie brothers 2019 movie, Uncut Gems. And Mark even told us while we were prepping the other day that one of his friends thought that he worked for A24 because of how much he was posting about Uncut Gems.
Yes, and he also thought that I had seen it already, which I hadn't.
And tell us about what you went to the premiere. What was that like?
So I went to the Boston premiere at the Boston ArcLight, which is beautiful. It's over at next to the TD Garden, and I was so excited. My friends at the Coolidge sent me a little invite. I did not expect to go to this premiere. I didn't even know about it, to be honest with you. They sent me an invite. I got to go. I got to take a couple of friends, and A24 set this whole thing up. It was really cool. Watched the movie for the first time, blew my mind, of course. As my friend says, I'm the only person who can love a movie before even seeing it. So I knew that I was going to love this movie, but it blew my mind even more. And then Sandler was there at the premiere, of course, the Safdie brothers, who I've seen in another Q&A for Good Time. So it's the second time I've seen a Q&A with them. The composer was there. One of the producers was there. Kevin Garnett was there. Brian Scalabrine was there, who, if anyone doesn't know, he also played for the Celtics, and he moderated it, which was pretty funny. So it was a really cool experience. I saw it like 3 weeks before it came out, so I was pretty excited.
Yeah, that's it's fantastic. And by the way, the Coolidge Theater is awesome. I used to go there quite a bit.
Yes, the Coolidge is my home. The Coolidge is in my heart. The Coolidge supported me in my movies, and they're great people. They're great people.
We're all New England boys here, Massachusetts and New Hampshire.
Yeah.
And I mean, this is our second episode. Tom and I were just going to talk about movies, occasionally have guests on. But I think what we're kind of trying to turn into, Tom and I make movies, we're writing a movie together. We would love to full-time be filmmakers. We decided it'd be really cool to start bringing in filmmakers to talk about other people's movies and their own as well. So when you make Fear of Flying, we can definitely cover that. But we're excited to kind of hear from another person's point of view what they thought of the movie and kind of get, that filmmaker's kind of take. And, a big part of our podcast is breaking it down. There is a section that is kind of what you hated or what didn't work for you. I feel like that's going to be a short answer, but that's the big thing we want to do on this is kind of like pull, like, if you had to say something, what would you say? And maybe it's a perfect movie. So there could
You want to know what I hated about this movie? I'll tell you right now.
Yeah, we'll get out of the way. That what?
That I didn't make it.
And I'm not a professional screenplay writer or filmmaker, or anything, but once in a while a screenplay comes along that makes you just go, why am I still even trying? I mean,
Absolutely.
we did Cabin in the Woods for the last podcast. I mean, Saw and those movies are so big to me and innovative.
My buddies wrote the Saw movies, Marcus and Patrick.
I'm reading a book right now. It's a screenplay book by the guy who wrote the second one, I think.
So Marcus and Patrick came in, I think, in the third one. They wrote Feast. Remember Feast?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, they did Feast. They won Project Greenlight. Did Feast with Project Greenlight. This was years ago, and then they went on to pick up the Saw pictures once the other people left. Anyways, just saying.
What no, that's awesome. One thing Tom and I want to do is, during October we're going to cover horror movies, maybe rom-coms in February, but one thing I think we're super interested in doing is also just covering like smaller works of art. So like James Wan, who was the first Asian director to ever make $1 billion at the box office with Aquaman, he started Saw. I mean, that was I think like a college project. And before Saw came out, he made a short film of it a few years back, which is a lot like what Neil Blomkamp did with Chappie. Like I would love to do we'll probably do some kind of podcast where we talk about people who do something and then like 10 years later they have the name in Hollywood, they have the money, they have the right people and can kind of make that into a full length. But yeah, I think Uncut Gems definitely falls into that where you're like, I didn't write this. Not that I ever had anything like this in mind, but I wish I wrote it. I wish I could have been in it. I wish I just could have seen like the set for a day. That's all I wanted.
I agree. I agree.
Yeah.
And honestly, that goes for pretty much anything I've seen from them. Like I remember the first time back in 2017 when I saw Good Time. I was like, like this is like I wish I made this. It's just so well done. It's such a good idea, and that's obviously the case with today's movie, Uncut Gems.
There's certain projects that either inspire me or make me insanely jealous and depressed. And, when I watch Mad Men or The Sopranos, first I get insanely jealous or depressed, or if I see like a Safdie Brothers film, and then I let it inspire me and say, okay, get it together, get back on the computer, start writing something new,
That's super smart. And I mean, you watch a movie and you go, how did they choose this song or how did they choose this direction? And it's like, that is always such an interesting thing to me because you're like, how did they do it? They just sat down and wrote it. I mean, that's all it is. We can sit down and write anything and people will go, how'd you come up with this? Or how could anybody have thought of this? Yeah, they just thought of it. They wrote it down. They've been talking about this movie for like 10 years. I mean,
absolutely.
I know their background is their dad worked on the jewelry exchange in New York City. So they grew up around this. So yeah, I think that's all, it's just another one of those things. They've been around for a while, but this was kind of their. And I was just saying, I mean, there's so much to talk about with Adam Sandler in this movie, but like, I think to get the first thing out of the way, he got robbed of the Oscar. The movie got robbed of a lot of Oscars. True. And Hollywood and the Academy just need to let some movies go. Like he's done some movies that lost some money that weren't a big success. This movie should have earned him a lot of things.
You know what he did? He made the best speech at the Independent Spirit Awards. I don't know if you guys
He did.
Did you guys see that? Yeah, it was great.
I did not. No, I need to.
Mikey, when you later on tonight, just type in Adam Sandler Independent Spirit Awards.
Is that when he starts off the speech with like his like most typical Adam Sandler voice? He's goes, hello, I am Adam Sandler. He's
like, hello there, this is Adam Sandler.
I remember reading about it because doesn't he thank like all the little people out there and thank everybody?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, he's just, yeah. I mean, growing up in New Hampshire, a half Jewish kid, I'd say. Growing up in New Hampshire, you know, we had Adam Sandler, Seth Meyers, Sarah Silverman. All these people have their own booth, I guess, at a diner in Manchester, and I've always dreamed of having one too. And Adam Sandler, I mean, just he has. I would recommend anybody watching his new special on Netflix, 100% fresh. He does a Chris Farley tribute. He does a tribute to his wife, and it's funny and it's beautiful and it's moving. And
Well,
yeah,
the Farley tribute that he did on SNL was beautiful.
that's the same one he does from
Oh,
the
it's
special.
the same one.
But,
Okay.
But on
Okay.
SNL, he had pictures.
Right.
Like every once in a while, I love dramedies. I like stuff that makes me cry. My favorite show is Scrubs, and it's because it makes you laugh and cry in 22
Dude,
minutes.
I love Scrubs. I love Scrubs so much. I miss
I'm
it.
listening to the podcast now, and it's getting me to rewatch the show because every episode details one episode of the show in order. And it's such a cool experiment to in 20 minutes make people laugh, and then in 2 minutes put on a Joshua Radin song and have people crying their eyes out. And like I love that, and just that's what that Sandler tribute is. I was raised on that era of SNL. I didn't know Chris Farley, but like I miss him all the time. Like it's just, and it's like what would it have been like if you were around today? And it's just you can tell how much it still breaks up all those guys from SNL.
I saw Farley do his thing once. I'm friends with Kevin Farley, his brother, and Kevin was on a sitcom. This was about 15 years ago. I was in Los Angeles. I went to see a taping of Kevin's sitcom. Chris showed up and just entertained the audience and for 5 minutes, and it was beautiful. And because when you sit in those audiences for a long time, you kind of get frustrated and bored and bitchy. And Farley, Kevin's brother Chris, came out and did like a funny thing for 5 or 10 minutes, and it completely changed the mood of the room. And that's the magic that he possessed,
That's a big gig in Hollywood, is to like warm up for the Fallon show or warm up for like Wheel of Fortune. Like that's like a big,
that is
very
big.
That's a good like paid gig where you're going to be successful.
They portrayed that on Crashing.
That's exactly where I know it from. I haven't watched them Dying Up Here yet, but I watched Crashing. I love Pete Holmes. He went to like my college's,
Crashing. I love
college.
Crashing. Yeah,
I wish
Dying Up Here, but I love Crashing.
Why did it get canceled? I'm kidding the new Jim Carrey show. Not really about stand up, but that got canceled too.
Yeah, that got canceled too. Yeah, you figure a Jim Carrey show would last.
I know. That's 2 Jim Carrey shows that were canned because he helped create I'm Dying Up Here, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
They're doing a movie now. They're doing a movie now for it.
Oh, good. And is that about? I've listened to a lot of comedy podcasts. Is that about Pauly Shore's mom?
It's about
right?
So it's about the Comedy Store and Mitzi Shore. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I've heard. I listened to a couple podcasts that are just about comedians coming up in the scene and how they made it, and a lot of it is about that club. Pauly Shore has a new movie out too. I still love that man.
You know whose podcast is great for all that kind of stuff is Joe Rogan's.
Okay. I've listened to one of his, and it's the one where he talks to the guy who worked at Area 51, because that stuff's super interesting to me. But it's like some episodes are too long. My favorite is About Last Night, which had it's Adam Ray's podcast now, but it was him and Brad Williams.
Okay.
That's a really good one. And then, of course, Bobby Lee's podcast, Tiger Lily.
Dude, I've known Bobby for 15 years, and I love his podcast. Tiger Belly kills me. It's amazing.
His episode with Eric Stone Street, where they talk about going back to like making commercials in Asia.
Eric is one of my best friends.
We need to.
I'm not even going to go into it. It's
he is very funny on the podcast because I only knew him as Modern Family, and he's very inappropriate and hilarious.
Dude, Eric is amazing. Eric had such a life even before Modern Family,
Yeah. I mean, and he's done some drama too since then. Which has been cool to watch. But yeah, Bobby Lee, and then he has a podcast now with Andrew Santino. I saw Bobby Lee.
Bad Friends, dude. Bad Friends is amazing.
Cheeto Santino. I saw Bobby Lee in Denver right before COVID really hit hard, and he came out and it was one of the funniest things because I mean I've been following him since Mad TV. I mean I've followed Key and Peele for 15 years now, and now Jordan Peele is making my favorite horror movies. But Bobby Lee is just he's so funny. All right, I think we're getting off track, which is fine because
that's fine. It's just a podcast. We can do
it's fine. We're just here promoting everybody else's podcast.
I know. I just realized that. I'm like, what are we doing here?
And they're probably all promoting ours, so it makes
Exactly.
sense.
Oh, they totally are. They totally are.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so Uncut Gems, basically 2019 kind of crime thriller movie. It's about a jeweler in New York City, and the way I kind of put it was his bets are running him into more enemies than they are kind of bags of cash. So it follows Adam Sandler as this guy Howard, and he works in he runs his own jewelry store. He has big clientele come in, like Kevin Garnett, who plays Kevin Garnett in the movie. I'm hoping a fabricated version of Kevin Garnett, but I was going to say this earlier. If you do want the Furby from the movie, it was for sale on A24. It's sold out now.
Yep.
But check back. They have the basketball, they have the Furby, they have screenplays on there. You can buy like the what was it? Hereditary screenplay.
Dude, I have an Uncut Gems t-shirt.
Do you? Oh,
yeah.
What's on it?
They had some good ones out there. There were some third-party companies that had like the various international poster T-shirts and stuff. It was cool.
Yeah, I have the poster and the T-shirt. Not international, domestic, but I had to have them.
Great.
I had to have them.
It's a great poster.
So I watched it again recently. I went back. I had never seen Good Time, so I went back and watched that, the other Safdie brothers movie. I know they have a couple full lengths, a couple shorts to watch. And we're not going to go over movie news today. We've kind of been posting it on our social media, just we've kind of been absent. But I do know that Ben Safdie just got cast in the new Paul Thomas Anderson movie.
Yes.
Which, I mean, in such a short time, that guy's career, his acting in Good Time, is it Good Time or Good Times?
Good Time.
Good Time. His acting in that, and then just not acting at all in Uncut Gems, and then getting cast in the Paul Thomas Anderson movie along Bradley Cooper. I mean, like,
well, do you know the story behind how he played the part in Good Time?
I'm guessing they couldn't find anybody, or?
Well, no, they had somebody in particular that they liked, and the production company turned them down. They said, we don't like that guy. So they said, okay, well, how about my brother plays it? How about Benny plays it? And they were like, no, that's ridiculous. Where he's directing. So Benny put himself on tape, and they didn't know what Benny looked like. And they sent the tape in, and the production company said, this guy is fantastic. And they said, that's Benny. They're like, okay, well, it's going to be him. Yeah.
I love that. And for me, I mean, some people like to write, some like to edit. Me, I like to write, direct, and act. And the way I feel about things is every sketch video I make, I'm like, I want to star in it. Like, I feel the same way with like movies I write. I do what Bo Burnham does. You write a role for yourself in the movie you're in. So
yeah, did he play the dad in 8th grade?
Yeah. I haven't seen 8th grade.
Yeah. You got to see 8th grade, dude. That's Bo
I know,
Burnham.
824. Yeah. I know that back in the day in early Hollywood for him, not too long ago, he was making a High School Musical parody for Judd Apatow, and he wrote himself into one of the roles. But that's how I feel. I mean, so that's why the Uncut Gems is interesting to me, because Benny didn't write it, right?
Ronald Bernstein and the Safdies wrote it.
Oh, okay.
Josh wrote it with Ronald Bernstein.
And rewrote it many, many times too.
And that's the thing is, like, Ben Safdie was so familiar with the script, so it's like, why not hop in and play that role? Like,
Absolutely.
You don't want. I can't imagine like directing somebody else and being like, nope, that's not how I see it. Like, I would want to immerse myself into that too. But it's an interesting thing. Some people like one or the other. I mean,
he's amazing. That I really like everybody. I think everybody in Good Time is kind of incredible. Buddy Duress, just like really standout performances, and we'll get to it eventually, talking about a certain actor or a certain slate of actors in this movie as well, who are completely unknowns, but kind of just give these really like incredible kind of standout performances. I think that's kind of a beautiful thing that the Safdies definitely know what they're doing when it comes to kind of casting and picking certain people that really fit the world of their movie. But something I want to quickly throw out, just an initial kind of question I wanted to throw at you guys is like, I mean, obviously, Mark, you were obviously a fan of the Safdies prior to seeing Uncut Gems, but like, what are some initial like reactions or expectations before even seeing this? Like, obviously hyped as hell, or like?
Yeah, I had seen Good Time. I had seen Daddy Longlegs. I had seen most of their shorts before they're all available now on the Criterion Channel, but they weren't all available before I saw them on YouTube. I had seen Heaven Knows What. So I was already in love with these guys. And the reason I love getting so hyped about the movies is because it says, wow, I can still get excited about something, a book or a TV show or a movie, because they're so few and far between that they make you feel so exciting again and make you feel 16 again. And that's what I was feeling with Uncut Gems. And just knowing that this movie was coming, knowing the history of it, knowing how much I love Good Time, falling in love with the Safdies and their work, I was just really hyped. I was excited. There was not a doubt in my mind that I was going to love it.
I think for people who know you well enough, and maybe people listening will pick up on this already, I think that you hype this movie up so much for yourself, and it wasn't disappointing, which meant it's that good of a movie. Because,
right. Most of the times when we hype shit up, we get let down.
Yep. But
and
it was that good.
Out of this movie even happier than I thought I would.
Which tells you so much about the movie. And I mean, yeah, I remember seeing the first trailer for it. My wife and I, we just moved back from Denver, but we stayed out for our first Christmas in Denver away from our family. And we saw it, I think, on Christmas Day. We were, the only few people in the theaters that came out Christmas Day. What else are you going to do? And yeah, I remember I didn't know anything about the Safdies. I'm still going back into their kind of, history. But Good Time was phenomenal. Robert Pattinson, he's why I'm so excited for the Batman.
Yeah,
his indie movies and acting have been great, and I just, like we talked about, you go on IMDb and you look up your favorite actor from Good Time, Daddy Longlegs maybe, or Uncut Gems. Like, they use so many people who have never been used before or might not ever be used again, or like, it's kind of like that. Not to compare one of the best movies to one of the worst, but Trolls 2. Have you guys seen Trolls 2?
I have not yet, but my friend's daughter is obsessed with it.
It's I still haven't seen The Room yet because I'm waiting to see it in theaters at like one of the events. But Trolls 2, they used a dentist in their hometown where they were filming the movie, or wherever they filmed it. They used the dentist to play the father in it. And I feel like Uncut Gems somewhat has that, where they're like, hey, maybe our college professor wants to act as one of the bookies in this. Like,
well, a lot of that influence, if I can say this, the reason the Safdies do that is obviously they want that realism. They want that real street feel, which is why a lot of times they don't clear the street. They just shoot right through crowds and hope that it's going to go well. But a lot of the reason they cast unknowns and non-actors is the influence of a guy. I don't know if you guys are aware. I'm sure you are. John Cassavetes.
Yes. Yep.
Right. John Cassavetes was a maverick of indie filmmaking in the 60s, 70s, and 80s. He unfortunately passed way too early. He's definitely one of my favorite directors, but he did that. He was one of the first people to do that. One of the first directors to take non-actors, and put them in roles for that realism and shoot on the streets for that realism and stuff like that. And the Safdies are heavily, heavily, heavily influenced by Cassavetes. As a matter of fact, there's a John Cassavetes Award at the Independent Spirit Awards, and Daddy Longlegs won that award when it came out.
Oh, wow.
Oh, right. So, yeah. And actually, too, kind of randomly, but Cassavetes is also in one of my favorite movies, and hopefully one we'll discuss in October, Rosemary's Baby.
Yes. Yeah, well, what was cool about Cassavetes is he would act in these big movies like The Dirty Dozen and Rosemary's Baby, and he would take that money and go make his indie films. So he would star in these big Hollywood movies and then take that money and he made probably 15 amazing indie films.
You do one for you do one for them. That's like the epitome of that.
That's exactly it.
That's the Shia LaBeouf route. I mean, he made so much doing these blockbusters that ruined him as a person that now he's doing the Peanut Butter Falcon and Honey Boy,
Nymphomaniac.
Yeah, I mean, Honey Boy and Peanut Butter Falcon were two of the best movies of last year. And I mean, absolutely. He just got a chest tattoo for his next movie. He's playing like a drug lord, and he got a full tattoo on his stomach.
Yeah, and he just did the tax collector, which I think looks good, but it got beat up in the reviews.
Yeah, with George Lopez.
George Lopez is in it, and David Ayer directed it, who did Training Day.
That's the one he got the tattoo for.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So the chase scene that's in Good Time when they're running through the mall after they rob the bank.
Yep.
Was that all done with just people who were at the mall at that time?
So what they did for that is, I can't believe I know this stuff. They kept some of the people in the mall, but they got rid of some of the people in the mall. But the funny story behind that is Robert Pattinson was really nervous about running through the mall because he was so used to everything being shut down and everything being cleared away, and only actors and background actors being present, that he was nervous about running through real people. Yeah. He didn't hurt anybody, and they were like, the Safdies were like, dude, this is how we shoot. Don't worry about it. We got your back. We're going to be right on your ass the whole time. You're not going to hurt anybody.
And to go from being one of the biggest actors when you did the Twilight franchise to now just putting your faith into people that someone in the mall's not going to try to tackle you, like that's...
Well, you guys know the story behind Good Time, right? Why he did it? Do you know this, Tom?
I don't think so.
No, I don't think so, no.
Okay, so he saw all right, ready for this? He saw a picture, just a picture from heaven knows what, an image. Didn't see the trailer, didn't see the movie. He saw an image. He said, I want to work with these guys, whoever they are, whatever they're doing next, I want to be a part of it. And they've been trying to make Uncut Gems even when they were making heaven knows what. The reason they met Ariel is because she was a drug addict and they were in the Diamond District scouting locations and they met her. So he wanted to do whatever they were doing next, but they knew he wasn't right for Uncut Gems. So they wrote Good Time specifically for him.
Wow.
That's amazing. Ariel Holmes, right? That's
yes.
That's amazing that during the quest to make Uncut Gems, they just happened to make these two other really great movies too. Like in the
absolutely
process.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Who is Ariel Holmes?
Tom?
She is because I think Heaven Knows What was the first movie she was in. I think they discovered her. Yeah, you said when they were scouting at the Diamond District. If I'm not mistaken, I think they just like met and they just talked for hours on like a bus or something, and then or on the train and then I know other than that movie, I know she was also in Honey Boy. Not Honey Boy. Yeah. American Honey. Sorry.
American Honey, which is great.
Okay. Oh yeah, fantastic.
That's movie. On my list. Yeah.
Yeah, fantastic.
So what she did, she wrote a book about her days on the streets, and they read the book, and nobody published it. There was just a manuscript, and Josh and Benny read that manuscript and said, "Let's just make this into a movie." So they wrote Heaven Knows What based on the manuscript that she wrote about being a junkie on the streets of Manhattan.
Wow. Did she have credit for the movie?
Yeah,
based on the book by
Oh yeah.
Wow.
Even when you see the trailer, it says acted by, written by Ariel Holmes. They totally gave her all the credit.
Wow, that's awesome. And I mean, even though they're casting people who are non-actors, it seems like they're giving people opportunities to get into the industry. I mean, like if you acted in Uncut Gems, your first movie, nobody's gonna care in Hollywood what you did before. They're just like, you're in Uncut Gems. Yeah. I mean, Ryan Reynolds is doing 14 movies right now in production. Of course, he's Ryan Reynolds. But if you look at the IMDb page of half the people from Uncut Gems, they're all pretty busy for the next couple of years. I mean,
absolutely.
The people who decide to stay in that industry are all sticking.
Well, Nola, who plays his daughter, was just on this great show called Betty on HBO about girl skateboarding crew in New York City based on a movie called Skate Kitchen. And Crystal's first movie was The Wolf Pack. I don't know if you guys seen The Wolf Pack.
No.
The Wolf Pack is a great documentary about 6 kids whose father locked them up in their apartment their whole lives. They were never allowed to be on the streets. And they lived through movies. And they created these movies in their apartment in New York City. And it's a brilliant, beautiful, funny, sad documentary. And I totally suggest it to everybody.
I've heard of that, and not to relate it to a fictional movie. It sounds like the non-fictional version of Be Kind Rewind with Jack Black and Mos Def.
Yes, you could totally put that in the Gondry movie. You could totally put that in the same category.
I wanted more out of that movie. I think I hyped it up too much, and I wanted it to just be them remaking stuff.
Yeah, I didn't love that movie. And I love Gondry, but I didn't love that movie.
Yeah. The Safdie brothers I need to go back to, and I mean, it just that's the kind of success I would hope for one day, is you have one thing like that, and then you just go to sleep that night and you go, hey, guess what? We're never going to struggle again in the business. anything we pitch, anything we want to do, we will be able to do it. I mean, that's kind of
You hope.
Oh yeah, they
You hope,
Well,
yeah.
they undoubtedly have the high ground now, and for good reason, because Uncut Gems is pretty great. And to kind of now get, I guess, into the meat of it all, like what I really want to point out is the first initial scene, because it's funny in the previous episode when Mike and I talked about the cabin in the woods, we had mentioned how the introduction to that movie, the intro scene, kind of it confuses you. It makes you feel like you're in a different movie, and Whedon and Goddard specifically wanted that. They want to make you feel disoriented, like you were in the wrong movie, and you kind of get that sense in this one too, because it starts off in Ethiopia, which obviously, like, you never see that in the promo or any of the trailers.
Right.
But we start off in like a mining town, and it's set. They specifically, this is technically a period piece movie because they said most of the movie's set in 2012, but we start off in 2010 in Ethiopia as these miners are kind of rushing out as someone got injured, and then we kind of follow these two other, I guess, managers or heads of this operation that head back into the tunnel and find the gem itself, this black opal that kind of kicks the whole movie off. And did you guys kind of feel the same way about that? Like, and were you kind of thrown off initially when it started off, or did you kind of really kind of know where it was going right from when you saw it?
I feel like.
Go ahead, Mikey.
I was gonna say, I feel like I've seen enough movies that, like, I know not to, like, get tripped up by the beginning, but at the same time, it definitely did kind of confuse me. And you're like, where is this going? How is this related? And then the next scene is them doing. The camera is literally going through Adam Sandler's colonoscopy. So I mean, like, it's not just the opening scene; it's the credits and like the music, and it's just, I mean, the music for a movie taking place in 2012 is not the music you would think. So, you know, the opening of the movie is definitely confusing, and then you get to Adam Sandler on the table at the doctor's office.
One of the first earliest things I ever read about the movie was this movie opens coming out of Adam Sandler's asshole.
Yeah.
That was one of the first things I read, and I right away said, fuck yeah.
Yeah.
That's an Adam Sandler movie right there. That is typically, that's a lot of Adam Sandler movies.
Yes.
And I wrote this down in my notes when I rewatched it. I kind of like, I add this that little intro, especially when the two miners hold up the opal. That kind of reminded me of that scene in Jurassic Park when they find the mosquito in the in the sap.
Yeah.
I got, like, I feel like the shot was kind of similar too, but I got that feeling. And then obviously, we zoom into the opal. We have this really cool opening sequence when we're kind of on like a micro level, like looking inside of the opal, which again transitions into the Adam Sandler or Howard Ratner's colonoscopy. And it's interesting. It's interesting how it starts off this way. But I mean, it's a cool intro because obviously we also have the music by is it Daniel Lopatin, who is
Daniel Lopatin,
Lopatin,
who went to BU, by the way, along with the Safdie brothers. Yeah,
my dad and sister went.
Yep.
Yeah.
And something else, I didn't even pull up my notes yet for this because there's just been such good conversation, which has been great. But yeah, one of the things that I wrote down that impressed me so much was one of the Safdie brothers edited this film too.
Yes, Benny.
Which is just another thing that is crazy to me. Because, I mean, and you could tell us more about this, Mark, but, you know, I learned, I don't know, 10, 15 years ago, like, what a producer really does in Hollywood, which not a lot of people know. Not a lot of people know what the director does. The director is not really setting up, you know, the cinematography a lot of the time. But the director is also in the editing suite every day after they're done shooting. And they're there, and they're doing all of that. And, like, you know, that's why you see big directors direct a movie and then do nothing for 6 years because they're like, I need to take a break.
Absolutely.
What are your thoughts on him writing, directing, editing? I mean, that's just not something you see as somebody editing a feature that they also did so many other things with.
My thoughts on that, a lot of it comes out of necessity. You know, you got to remember these guys started as indie filmmakers in New York, and they didn't have the money to go hire editors, and they might not have known an editor. And I think Benny just said, okay, all right, fuck it, I'm going to teach myself. And I've been fortunate where one of my best friends is my editor, and he knows what he's doing. And I know that I don't have the brain to learn editing, and I'd rather let somebody that knows it and has the special gift for it and knows the art of it and do it. But I totally can. I applaud anybody that says, all right, I'm going to learn how to edit, and I'm going to edit my own movie. I'm going to shoot. I mean, Paul Thomas Anderson shot Phantom Thread. Steven Soderbergh shoots all his own movies, you know. I just know I'm not that person, but I also have a great DP and I have a great editor and I have a great producer. So, and that all happened out of necessity too. We were like, okay, when we made Fat, we didn't have anybody or anything. And we said, let's just learn to do all this stuff ourselves. You learn this, you learn this, you learn this. And that's how it happened. So I love when somebody does that. And I love that Benny's doing that stuff. And he just does it in his apartment. You know, he doesn't go anywhere special and does it.
When I make sketch videos and do, you know, just dumb comedy videos, and I write, direct, act in, and edit, and editing is my least favorite thing. I don't like lighting and sound either. That's something I'm not into.
I don't either. If people ask me, they say, what kind of camera do you use? I say, I have no idea. Ask my cameraman. A video camera.
Tom is a great editor, and I've been working on this post-apocalyptic short for years now, and by years I mean here and there. And I'm hoping Tom can help edit it, because Tom is definitely a great editor. And yeah, I mean, that's something where I think Tom, you know, and you could tell me different, but seems like editing is your thing. Like, you don't really want to direct and write, but you would if you needed to.
I mean, I'm actually I actually am in the process of writing. I have 2 short films in the works right now, but you know, ultimately, editing is my main thing, and I've been editing pretty consistently since like 2008. I want to say that's when I really was like, I got Sony Vegas for the first time, and I was like, all right, this is the best, and I've been doing it ever since. But yeah, like it is amazing that someone like Benny, you know, again, he can, you know, kind of a man of all trades, or almost in a sense like a one-man band, where he can go from acting and his own movie and then editing his own movie. And actually I saw a little featurette with Daniel pretty recently. He's going over the process of how he
I love that featurette.
You know what I'm talking about.
Music, that was great.
Oh, it's so good. He goes over everything, and Josh comes in and he's like, oh yeah, he's basically after editing all day, I'd come into the studio and work with him, and it's like, it was just a little room. Yeah, and it produces the music in this movie, which is so good. Yes, I don't even really know how to describe it. It's like, obviously he says that he took a lot of inspiration from what is all their favorite movies, you know, like 70s and 80s exploitation, or like William Friedkin movies, and you know, so like a lot of these heavy synths, and like really just like the best way to describe the score, honestly, is like I don't even know. It's like dreamlike. It's almost like, in a sense, it almost is like Hayao Miyazaki music. It's like very just like whimsical, and like,
I always say it's Yanni on acid.
Yeah.
Isn't that just Yanni? Isn't that just Yanni?
What?
Isn't that just Yanni though?
Yeah, true. You're right. Yeah. That's an oxymoron. You're right. But it is. It's very ethereal. It's very experimental and Tangerine Dreamish. You know, that type of thing.
Yep.
That's another thing I would love. First off, I know, Tom, you do love writing, because Tom and I actually writing a movie and trying to start another one soon. But yeah, I think that's such a big thing, is finding what you like and what you're good at. For me in college, sophomore year, I realized I love screenplay writing. That's when I started talking to, you know, Mark more about the business and learning about it. And then of course, when you study film, and it's not like a film school, it's a film program, you kind of have to keep learning everything. But yeah, to anybody who's listening who's interested, try to find people in meetup groups, find people in Facebook groups who can do those other things. If you don't know how to do animation and you'd rather keep writing and then learn how to animate, find somebody and collaborate with them. That's such a big thing.
And collaboration's key.
And the score to this movie, that's another thing I'd love to dip my toes in, is score a movie. And I think another thing too is like the music department of TV shows and movies, like we talked about with Scrubs. I mean, A Million Little Things, This Is Us, all these shows that just get me in the heartstrings. I feel like there needs to be, and maybe there is Emmys and Oscars. It's kind of like the ones you don't see on TV, but whose job is it to pick which song is going to play which part? And I don't mean like original
music
score.
Supervisor.
Why are they not more recognized? Because the only reason you are crying at Scrubs is because that person picked the perfect song, and like nobody can name music, you know, producers and super.
I don't know. You're right. Because they don't do it at the Grammys. They don't do it I mean, the Oscars do. The Oscars do music supervision, but
yes,
that's more for soundtrack and score and
mixing
composition.
And
But you're right. Nobody gets recognized for picking the songs. You know.
Well, like I think what it is, honestly, is like they just make it look easy. Like, honestly, with because in Uncut Gems, honestly, like the music is so good, and it comes in at the right time. And when I was watching that featurette I mentioned earlier, you know, when he was discussing how like when Josh would come into the studio and they would start like rearranging stuff, then I'm like, oh yeah, this is complicated. Like I don't even understand how I would even approach something like this. Because it really like it's like you watch the movie and you're like every choice seems so correct, and even the general soundtrack. I mean, there's a great scene when they play Billy Joel's The Stranger.
Yeah.
Oh, I just love it. I just love it so much. That's
Great moment. Great moment.
So like they're always good when it comes to music.
Yeah, the score is so cool. Something I could listen to while going to bed, or like, you know, doing, or even writing. I mean, like I like to write to music that doesn't have lyrics because I don't want to sing along to them. And the score, I would love to learn more about his process. And I mean, yeah, it's super interesting.
All their scores are really interesting. The Good Time score is great.
Very similar, which I liked.
Yeah.
The Heaven Knows What score was done by this guy, Ariel Pink. Have you heard of Ariel Pink?
Yes.
Mm-mm.
Brilliant musician.
Brilliant musician. So this was before they worked with Daniel. They worked with Ariel Pink, and it's a great, just really demonstrative soundtrack. It's dark and just scary almost, like the movie itself.
Where can you find these other movies? I think I watched Good Time on...
So Good Time's on Netflix right now.
Yeah.
Yep.
And
Heaven Knows What.
I'm not sure.
Heaven Knows What you can rent on Amazon for $3.99.
Okay.
And then Criterion Channel, which in my opinion is the best streaming service for a real film education. If you really, really, really want to learn about, like, I collect Criterions. I'm an obsessive Criterion collector, but I also have the channel just for all these little extra things like Scorsese interviews, Safdie interviews, all that kind of stuff, Ari Aster interviews. They have the best streaming movies if you really want to learn about film. And they have all the Safdie shorts, and they have Daddy Longlegs, which was their film before Heaven Knows What, which is the most completely different movie of all their movies.
Happy?
The father and son relationship.
Oh, right. Yeah, I still got to see it because a lot of people talk about that one. I got to go through all those shorts as well. But yeah, and I think now we should kind of kick off into Adam Sandler in this movie because, by God, is he great in this? And, you know, it's funny because after the initial scene, after he gets the colonoscopy, this movie just kind of kicks off. And for the rest of the movie, we are in what a lot of people have described this movie as being like anxiety-induced cinema because really that's what it feels like. And there's a great editing term I use a lot. It's called the cycles of tension and release. And every movie should at least follow these rules where you're ratcheting up this tension and ratcheting up, and then eventually it explodes and you get a little bit of a cool down, and then you kind of keep doing that. And this movie just does that to like an alarming degree where like we're continually following Howard, who's in this pursuit of kind of making more, obviously trying to increase the amount he purchased the Opal for in trying to pay back the debt collectors, one of which being a family member. And
that scene at the dinner was just a big surprise. Yeah, that was such a subtle thing, which I really loved.
Very subtle.
But like, it's fascinating to me because when I first saw this, I was like, you know, the first like initial couple of minutes of seeing Adam Sandler, I'm like, all right, like I just kind of see Adam Sandler, but like, I don't know, after like 5-10 minutes, like I really just don't see him anymore. Like he really is transformative, but not in like a showy way. I don't feel like, even though he is very energized in this movie, but he just really becomes this person who you kind of love to hate because he's not like this. He's not a terrible, vile person, really. It's more like he's just very, to me, he's very ignorant. I don't know. What do you think? Because like he knows what he's doing, but he ignores the will of like his family and obviously a lot of other problems. He kind of puts that to the side in pursuit of this ultimate goal of making money, pretty much.
Yeah.
So.
Well, he's an addict.
Yes.
He's an addict and he's a fuck up, and he's not a bad person. He cares about his family. He cares about his business. He cares about his friends. But like an addict, like a food addict or a drug addict or a booze addict, he's always chasing that next high. And yes, as soon as he gets that Celtics ring, where's he going to go? He's going to go pawn it. You know, what's he going to do next? He's going to go bet on the basketball games. You know what I mean? He needs that next high, that next thing. And it just starts crumbling. And when you're an addict, you really destroy yourself, but you also destroy everybody around you. You know, people don't want to be around you. People get hurt by you. There's a great line in the movie Greenberg, hurt people hurt people. and he's a hurt person. He just doesn't show it that much. He walks around outwardly exuberant and excited and happy, but he's really damaged inside. And the only way to fix that is the next bet, the next sale, the next, you know what I mean? If that makes sense.
But he's charismatic. He's charismatic. And like,
but dude, what is all addicts are charismatic. You know what I mean?
Like he knows how to get people on his side. And like Tom said, are you rooting for him? Are you not? I think one, he's the protagonist. You hate him. I wouldn't say you love him, but I would say you're rooting for him.
Well, that's like, it's all in the writing.
Anybody die?
It's all in the writing. How Tony Soprano, you root for it. The guy is a cold-hearted murderer, but you're on his fucking side. And that is like Howard Ratner, you know?
I'm watching The Sopranos for the first time.
Oh my God.
I loved Christopher and Paulie in the first season. And then as the seasons go on, they are the worst people on the show. Some of the worst people I've ever seen in television.
Dude, they're all the worst people. They're gangsters. But we forget that because they're charismatic, because the writing's so good. And just to bring it back to Howard and Uncut Gems, that's what he is. Even Connie in Good Time is charismatic, but he just put his brother in the most fucked up position, you know? That's what addicts do. That's what gamblers do. That's what drug abusers do.
Yeah, and I think that obviously plays into, again, Adam Sandler's performance, but also just the Safdies knowing how to like inject humanity into their characters, because
absolutely,
as you mentioned about kind of this character like Tony Soprano, someone you kind of love to hate to love, but I kind of compared him also to Walter White in Breaking Bad, where
absolutely
he's a character who is smart, who does have a lot in his life already, even from the start, but he decides to continually kind of ignore a lot, like he kind of ignore his family and the good things he does have in his life, but is in pursuit of something much larger, but also is destructive in the end. And again, it's funny because you know this from the beginning. You know this isn't going to end well for him. So it's just fascinating to watch him dig himself deeper and deeper and deeper into a hole. And obviously, like, it's funny too because right from the start too, he already has multiple people after him for various reasons. You have the debt collectors after him. You have those two weird brothers or whatever that say they owe him money. And then he, also there was something else, right? I know he gave the ring, he pawned off the ring.
Yep.
But there was something else. There's another character that was looking for money. I think when he first met The Weeknd.
That scene to me.
Yeah. Go ahead, Mike. No, go ahead.
Well, mine's not as related. So yeah.
Oh, I was gonna say the two brothers, the twin brothers that are hunting him down, have been working with the Safdies since their short films.
Oh, really?
Oh,
yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And can we talk about Phil for a second? The thug number one, the guy who slaps him in the store in the beginning.
Oh yeah.
That guy is a fucking genius. Oh. I love that guy.
Oh, what's his name? Keith Williams Richards.
Williams Richard, one of the best bad guys I've ever seen in any movie. Never acted before. They found him waiting for a subway train. He didn't want to do it. They convinced him to do it, and that guy. Holy shit. I love that guy.
That's so
cool. He is amazing in it. Like, he is very cold, and he, like, instantly, his presence, you're like, that's someone I would never mess with in any capacity. Well,
if you've seen some of the interviews with Sandler or even Eric Bogosian, they said there were times when they literally got hit the wrong way, squeezed the wrong way, were scared. Like, this guy really put a fear into these people, because even though he's acting, there's something in him that has really done this shit before,
Oh yeah, you can tell.
Just don't ask questions. I think. So two things. Back to Tom's thing. Everybody I've talked to who didn't like this movie, they said they didn't like it because it made them too anxious. And you just go, okay, did you not like Jurassic Park because it scared you? Like, how can you not like a movie because it made you that anxious? That's what the movie did. You should appreciate. So many people didn't like it because of that. And I just read the other day, Sandler and Lakeith Stanfield, my top two favorite actors. We're going to cover a bunch of his movies over time on this podcast. Him and Adam Sandler didn't know what the movie was really going to look like. So once they saw the movie, they felt anxious. They felt tense because, when you're making a movie, you might film the last scene first and then the second act and then third act and the first act. So you're not really, that as connected. I mean, you've read the screenplay, you know what you're doing, but you don't really know exactly what it's going to look like in the eyes of the directors. So Sandler and Stanfield sat down and watched it, and they felt the same anxiety that we felt, which is so interesting and just really tells you like what the Safdie brothers did. And maybe they kind of made it not seem that way. Maybe they wanted to surprise the actors. But that's the biggest thing I hear from people who didn't like the movie, is it made me too anxious. And I mean, what are your guys' thoughts? If somebody said I didn't like it because it made me scared or sad, what would you say to them?
I had friends who said that movie didn't make me anxious, and it didn't make me that anxious either. But I get it's not for everybody. You know what I mean? I have people that were like, that was the worst thing I've ever seen, and da 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 da. Look, you could say that about a Martin Scorsese movie. You could say that about any movie. Even just being on set is stressful and anxious, you know? Mm-hmm. So when you don't know what the finished product's going to be, I know the Safdie brothers knew what the finished product was going to be. Sure. But any movie can end up stressful or anxiety filled, you know, just because of what's happening in the film. But it's not for everyone. I loved the pacing of the movie and the beats of the movie and the anxieties filled stressful sequences, you know,
up to the last scene. I mean, it's just up to the last scene, that build up.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But again, this is what, okay. I don't want to say anything. I don't want to say it because I almost gave away the Sopranos ending.
No. I know the ending that everybody knows, but that's all I really know.
You do? Okay.
I know
the way they build up that ending is Tony's, it feels really anxious in that whole episode. And that's the way Tony feels in life. That's why it's anxiety filled, because that's how Tony lives his life every day, looking over his shoulder. And I think a lot of the anxiety and the beats and the pacing of Uncut Gems comes from how Howard's living his life. Like he's constantly on the edge, constantly trying to save the day, his own day, constantly in some kind of deal or getting chased down. I mean, the guy's beat up how many fucking times, you know?
And he knows he's not killing it. He knows he's not winning. I think he knows like, I might not win this next one, but after that, that's when I'm gonna win the real big one.
Yeah.
I gotta, you know what? I don't know. I gotta disagree with you guys.
Yeah,
I feel like this is just my opinion.
Sure.
I feel like he thinks he's always gonna win.
Okay. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
He's an addict. And
that's what a gambler does. The reason a gambler keeps betting is because they think they're gonna win the next bet and the next bet and the next bet. So that's just my opinion. That's just my opinion.
Yeah. Well,
I think
it's funny because like there's two, but there's multiple scenes in this movie that I feel kind of really bad for Howard, because there's one scene when he's at his daughter's like recital or she's putting on a play.
Yes. Yeah.
And here's what's interesting to me in this scene. He looks behind him and he sees what's his name? He sees the debt collectors and Phil, and he sees his two other cronies or whatever. And you know, he could have just sat there and watched his daughter's recital, and nothing would have happened. Yeah. They're in a crowded room. He could have stayed there for his daughter, but instead, I almost got the sense that he felt like he had to take care of business. And obviously, when he goes into the hall, he pushes Phil, he bites that guy in the hand, and you know, obviously after that, he gets captured and he's completely emasculated, like by his own family member. You know,
I wondered the same. Why did he get up? Is it because if he stayed, then his family would have had to see it?
I mean, that's probably part of it.
I think he's always pushing his luck. He's got to deal with the situation head on. He's always pushing his luck. He doesn't stop. You know what I mean? Like he could have stopped after Arno cut the bet off. He could have stopped after he sold this ring or that. He never stops. He keeps pushing the issue. And yeah, partly is like, okay, I got to get up. I got to deal with this shit so my family doesn't see these debt collectors, you know? Mm-hmm. But there's also another scene in his office. Do you remember when he slaps Phil?
Yeah. Yep.
Remember that? Yep. He's tired of being emasculated. You know what I mean? He's tired of like being pushed around. He even says it to Julia Fox. He's like, he says it to Kevin Garnett. I'm sorry. He's like, this is why I take the beatings every day. This is why I get punched in the face. This is why I get beat up. This is me. You know, that great line, this is how I win, you know?
Oh yeah. Yep. Yeah. And I just want to say quickly too, like about you're saying like he's sick of being emasculated, and I think there's also another great scene where he beats up the Weeknd because he's obviously having fun with his girl Julia Fox, and I like that scene too because like obviously again he's just going at him, and what I'm trying to think, Swimming Pools by Kendrick is playing over it, and it's just a funny scene to me. But obviously like there are all these examples of him trying to like, I don't know, like overcompensate. And,
Absolutely.
yeah,
Absolutely.
And again, all these little moments play into his character, and I think it's kind of brilliant.
There's even a tiny, tiny little subtle emasculation of him by his wife when they get home after the school play, and she goes, "Take the garbage out to the street." You know what I mean? Like there's little things that he's kind of sick of that he feels like he has to like defy, you know? Unfortunately, his way of defying is betting, you know?
Yeah. Oh yeah, can we maybe talk about Adele Dazeem for a sec, because like she's or Dina Menzel,
Dina Menzel, yes, the Travolta way,
yeah, she's
I haven't seen her in much. I mean I've seen her in Enchanted and Rent, and I know her from
She was
Frozen,
great. She was great.
She is great.
I mean, yeah,
she's
great.
so cold in this movie, but like for a good reason. I think she has a good reason to be this way towards Howard.
Absolutely.
He asked for her to come back to him. Yeah, he asked her to come back after his girlfriend and him break up, and the house, the apartment goes up in the market. I just want to go back to one thing you said about like the whole screenplay rule is show don't tell. You know, don't have him be like, I'm losing all my bets. How can you show that? Oh, a bunch of people are showing up trying to collect their debts. I also love the scene where he's pawning it off to the guy, the Celtics ring. This is me and my wife love this scene. We've been quoting it. He goes down to pawn it. I think the second time he's changing the 76ers ring for the
Knicks ring. The Knicks ring.
And the guy looks at him and he goes, "Bubby, are you all right?" And I just love that because like they're so connected in the scene. Like everybody in that jewelry scene are connected, but like everybody's out there to make a buck off of everybody. And this guy literally looks at Adam Sandler and is like, "Are you sure? Like, you cannot do this. Like, are you okay? Like, do you need help? Do you need somebody to talk to you?" I thought that scene was just so powerful because it's just like this guy's been seeing him do this for years, maybe decades, we don't know, but this guy is trying to get him to stop. He's trying to be his friend, and Sandler still goes forward with it. And it's that guy's dilemma of do I make a transaction today, or do I try to stop this guy from doing something crazy?
There's a few people in this movie that care about Sandler a lot. Julia Fox. Lakeith does care about him, you know? His worker that worked for him, remember the guy who quits?
Yep.
Like, you're going to be jealous when you see me out there in the diamond. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I like that scene.
That's another great scene.
I love
where,
the way that guy talks.
Me too.
He actually has a really prominent Instagram account.
He's a real Diamond District guy.
Oh yeah, he's great. Yeah.
Yep.
And
that's crazy.
That's another great scene in the beginning where I feel like you see Howard's ignorance, because again, like sure, he does care about his family, he does care about his employees, but only to a degree, I feel like, because while that character is explaining that he's upset about what happened and he feels like he's been mistreated, Howard's just hyper focused on his package, receiving the black opal, and and then when the guy says, I quit, he just looks up and he says, "I think I'm gonna come," or whatever that line. And it's that visual trick where they make his eyes like shrink into his head a little bit, which was interesting. But
I love the veneers. I love like everything they did to Sandler's character, and I think they were veneers, right? They put on him. And I think if you were to ask Adam Sandler what's the one thing he didn't like doing about this, I would say he had to get dressed up. I'm the same way. Sandler is worth $400 million and walks around in basketball shorts and a windbreaker. I'd be the same way. And I think he dressed up so much in that movie, which was very weird to see as Sandler. He was very composed, not calm and composed, but the way he was dressed and put together was very professional, which also is not the Sandler that you're used to. And
absolutely.
The glasses and so what was the story of how he got cast in the role?
So the Safdies were after him for a long time, and they even approached him at Cannes in 2017, and he was there. They were there for Good Time, and he was there for the Meyerowitz Stories, the Noah Baumbach picture. Mm-hmm. And they approached him then, and he said, "Listen, I'm here with my family. I'm here with another movie. I don't really want to talk about anything else." So they were like, "All right, fine." So another few years go by. Somebody showed him Good Time. I think his manager, his agent, showed him Good Time, and he said, he makes a funny joke. He says, "The Safdie brothers, what are they, skateboarding rabbis? I don't know who these guys are." And so he finally watched Good Time, and he called Josh Safdie. I'm sorry, he texted Josh Safdie, and he said, "Hey, it's Sandler." And Josh Safdie knows another Sandler. And he said, which Sandler? And Sandler said, the famous one. And apparently this other guy is famous too. He's a photographer. And Josh Safdie said, which famous one? And Sandler texted back, the funny one.
What a dilemma. What a dilemma to have. Which Sandler is this?
Yeah, exactly. And once he connected with those guys, he loved them. Every interview you hear, every podcast that they do together, I highly suggest listening to two particular interviews. One that Paul Thomas Anderson conducted with the Safdie brothers. Okay. It's on the A24 podcast. Perfect. And the NPR with Sandler, Josh, and Benny. Great interview with Terry Gross. I highly suggest, if you want like really cool tidbits, really exciting interviews, those two are great. But you could see how much he loved the Safdie brothers. He like really loved them like two brothers themselves, to him.
That's so interesting too, because I'm sure Sandler didn't regret saying, "I'm here with my family. I'm promoting another movie. I'm not here for future business." I'm sure he didn't regret that. But I wonder if there was like maybe I should have hit those guys up that next week, when I was back in town or something.
Maybe. But
Sandler's never looking for work. He's always pretty busy. So I mean,
exactly.
Everything falls into place at the right time, which is exactly how it is. Another cool fact, I think I've just been following Instagram accounts for this movie. Daniel Day-Lewis, one of the biggest and best method actors, called Adam Sandler after to tell him how much he enjoyed his performance, which Sandler said was one of the highlights of his career, which is quite the call. And I love that kind of Hollywood, just people texting and calling each other. And it's like, oh, who's this? Oh, it's, Mark Wahlberg. Oh, okay. Like just that kind of people texting and calling you. And like, is there ever a time where you think that people are pranking you, or is there just a time where you're so settled into Hollywood that if Ron Howard says he's texting you, that that's Ron Howard?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I would imagine I would imagine if it's Daniel Day-Lewis, it's exciting no matter what,
Yeah.
It's like I know that if I was a famous person and Daniel Day-Lewis texted me or wrote me, I'd probably question it. I'd be like, shit, is this Daniel? I mean, you're talking about Daniel Day-Lewis, for Christ's sakes,
Like, I wasn't that good. I mean,
he's the greatest living actor of our generation,
Yeah. I know we're going to try to wrap up pretty soon here. One thing we really like to talk about and really get the answers from people is I'm a big sequel guy. I'm a big prequel guy. I think that we should have less of them and less remakes and more original content, but I also love to see them, talk about them, think about them. If there were a prequel or a sequel to Uncut Gems, which I think all three of us can agree with should never be done, what would it be? What would you want to see for both of you guys? Would that kind of... What would pique your interest? Do you want to learn more about what happens with his girlfriend, and does she get the money and get away with it, or do the rest of the guys come for it? How does Kevin Garnett feel when he finds out that what happened to Sandler? Or is there more of a prequel?
I think if I wanted to, and let me just say, I don't want to see anything.
None of us do.
They never will. They never should. Nobody ever should. Don't make a TV show. Don't make a short. Don't make a sequel or prequel.
A cartoon.
But if you put a gun to my head, I would say, let's see where Lakeith Stanfield goes.
Yes.
Okay.
Because he is the best actor today.
Let's follow him and let's see what he does with his business and his money and how he reacts to Howard getting, well, should I say that?
We tell people if they're going to watch this, hopefully they've seen the movie already. So,
okay.
Yeah, I guess we can talk about the last scene where Adam Sandler gets killed.
Yeah, because this final scene, I think, is very divisive for a lot of people, because I've talked to a lot of people who are like, I like it, but it's very abrupt. And obviously on purpose, it's supposed to be very abrupt. And on the second viewing, I kind of appreciate it because, again, as I mentioned, that those cycles of tension and release, where that whole scene is just, we're on the edge. We're not sure if Julia Fox is going to get away with the winnings. Mm-hmm. And for a split second, it's like he won. Howard won. He,
celebrate.
He like tripled his money. And even his Eric Bogosian, like he even has like a smile, like a little smirk on his face. He's like, oh shit, you actually did it. And then boom, shot in the head. Yeah. And like, that's it. Like it's over.
I don't think that it was sudden. I don't think it was quick. I think it was a 2-hour long movie of building up to that one scene.
Yeah.
Well, you guys remember, there's a moment where Phil decides he's going to do it. There's a great moment where they stay on his face and he's looking at Sandler He's kind of rolling his eyes around. And in that moment, just before he's let out of that room, he's decided that he's going to kill this guy. Like, these guys do not like being disrespected.
Yeah, for
And
this long.
He
For
didn't
this
kill
long
him
either.
for money. He didn't kill him for money. He killed him because he personally disrespected him. He locked him in that room for 2.5 fucking hours.
Yep.
And
Three grown men trapped in a room sweating together.
yes.
Waiting to get out, treated like animals. I mean, Sandler treated the three of them like animals.
Yes. And now, granted, they fucked with him, but he fucked with them in the first place, you know?
They should have beaten him up many more times before.
Right.
That could be a prequel. How many times did he get his ass kicked? But what were your thoughts on Arno getting killed?
Well, can I just say first my thoughts on Sandler getting shot? Everybody, you know, a lot of people had a problem with it. Why did he get shot? He won. Why couldn't it be this? Why couldn't it be that?
Yep.
This was the only way it could end. He had to be put down. He was like a rabid animal.
Yeah.
He was going to take that money. He was going to go bet again. He was going to fuck over more people. This guy had to die. That is plain and simple. He had to go. Like they would say on The Sopranos, he's got to go.
Yeah.
And that
He was a made man.
To me, in my opinion, this was the only way you could handle this movie, was to take him out, you know? Arno was just a casualty. Again, this movie is so realistic because those guys don't fuck around. Those guys like Phil, they don't fuck around. They're gonna, if you get in their way, they're gonna shoot you. They're gonna kill you. You know,
the fear that Arno had. I mean, between him deciding to go with family over business as soon as Adam Sandler gets killed, and he's like, "I'm done. I want out of this. How am I going to explain this to my family?" That fear of him running to that door, that it still gives me chills now.
I agree.
Like he wanted to run home and probably just hug his family and brace for what was about to the news, and he just gets shot.
And how great was that payoff, bringing that door back? You know.
Yep.
Not being able to open that door, totally
the foreshadowing.
It came back to fuck him over, you know.
I know that he should have known. He should have played along. He should have done something to.
He should have kept his mouth shut. He should have kept his mouth shut. You know, pay off these guys and move on with his life. You know.
Yeah, Tom. If you have an idea, sequel, prequel, but I mean, I would also say if you were to remake this movie. Who could do it besides Sandler? Besides nobody. I mean, we're so ingrained as Sandler playing Howard, but I guess.
Well, do you guys know who was supposed to play Howard?
Matthew McConaughey.
No. So before Sandler, they had Jonah Hill at one point.
Damn.
They had Sacha Baron Cohen at one point.
Cool. I would have liked to see that. That would have been really good.
This just goes to show you a movie is never the movie until it's made. You know.
Yeah.
Like.
Jonah Hill would have done great, but I don't picture it.
But it would have been a different movie.
It would have. Sacha Baron Cohen would have been fantastic.
Jonah was the last before Sandler, right? He's the last choice.
Yes.
Because I still remember seeing articles about that, and everyone was like, "Oh
I
my
do
God."
too. I do too.
Yeah. And then immediately it was like Adam Sandler's cast, as Howard Ratner. It was like a holy shit moment. But
yeah.
I don't know. It's so hard because like. I think Sandler, I think this is easily his best performance. I know, like, many people think that too, but like, and the thing is, like, the guy has a slew of great performances. I think he's great in obviously Punch Drunk Love, Rain on Me, the Meyerowitz
Rain on Me
stories.
was great.
Yeah, you mentioned the Meyerowitz stories. He's really good in that too.
I think Rain Over Me or Rain on Me. I think he was better in that than in Uncut Gems. I think he should have been nominated and won for that. But I think Uncut Gems was pretty much equally as good, but that is such an underrated movie that nobody knows about.
Right.
And Click too. I mean, Click is the perfect dramedy. you can't go wrong. I love Click, and I mean it's.
For me, I'm a Wedding Singer kind of guy.
That's fair. I like everything.
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course. He was also great in this movie Spanglish.
Oh, Spanglish. That too.
I saw that one.
Yeah.
So it's not. That's the thing, because I think. When people saw this, they were like, I know a lot of people that were like, oh my God, Adam Sandler is actually giving a great performance. It's like, it's not his first great performance. But certainly, in my opinion, one of, if not his best.
Look, here's the difference. And it boils down to this. There's Adam Sandler movies and there's Adam Sandler starring in so-and-so's movie. And that's when he puts in his best these dramatic performances. I'm not saying his comedy performances are bad. They're great. They're brilliant. But those are his movies. Those are the movies that he produces. He's behind. He puts in the best dramatic performances when he's in someone else's movie. Albert Brooks, Paul Thomas Anderson, Noah Baumbach, Safdie brothers. So there's people that when they see Adam Sandler in a movie, they think it's an Adam Sandler movie. It's not. It's Adam Sandler in so-and-so's movie, you know?
Yeah, true.
He lives the dream career, too, of he makes a movie he wants to make, and he goes to Hawaii, or he goes back to New England and hangs out on the North Shore with his friends, and they go jump in the water. I love Grown Ups. I think Grown Ups, the first one, is a really great film.
Well, I'm glad you like the first one, because the second one might be one of the worst movies I've ever seen in my entire life.
Once I saw the deer peeing in their bed on the trailer, I was like, I'm probably not going to watch this one.
Look, there's bad and there's bad.
Yes, but they had fun.
Absolutely. Yeah, and who gives a shit? Exactly. They're having fun. That's what matters, you know?
Yeah.
I think people forget why we get into these things, because we want to enjoy it. We want to have fun. It's art.
It's an
escape. That's why none of us are working construction. At least I don't know. Maybe you guys are. I'm not, you know?
I'm not tough enough for that job.
I'm not either. I'm a little wuss. I need to sit in my house and write my little stories, you know?
I get sunburnt.
But I guess maybe now final words on Uncut Gems. All I really have to say is I think Howard is the architect of his own turmoil. You know, I think from the start, like, he is causing his own issues, and I think that's what's ultimately, I think, what makes this kind of like a tragedy, because you're just like, come on, man, just like you said earlier, pay the debt, move on, but he just can't do it. He just can't do it, and it's just sad to watch.
He can't get out of his own way.
Exactly.
Exactly. I think, like you said too, Mark, he has to die, which is he wouldn't have taken that money and bought a house in the Cayman Islands and just retired there.
Right.
He would have lost that money the next day, and he would have kept sweet talking all the people he could, and he would have roped in another basketball player or football player. I mean, that could be a good sequel. What other celebrities did he?
You know who it was? It was going to be Joel Embiid before Garnett.
Yeah. Yep.
And even before that, Kobe was interested.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Very interesting. Yeah. That'd be an interesting take to see if there was, a prequel where he met with a baseball player, football player, and ran the same kind of run around he did in this movie. I will say, if you have not seen Uncut Gems, sorry we spoiled it for you, but you can watch it on Netflix for free. And honestly, we're going to say this every podcast, you can watch it anywhere you would like to watch it. It's on Amazon, it's on Vudu, it's on
YouTube.
Yeah, you can rent it. And I mean, let me ask you this, because we were talking earlier about Criterion. I love buying DVDs still to this day. I love Blu-ray. I can't wait to show my kids my DVD collection. And I'll be able to play this movie as a hologram, and they'll show up.
Sure.
So do you buy it on Blu-ray? Do you guys both still collect DVDs?
I will only buy it when it comes on Criterion.
Okay.
The only Blu-rays I buy are Criterion. Okay, so cool. I'm sure it's going to come out on Criterion at one point, because they have a really good relationship with those guys. Yeah. So I think that or Good Time will come out on Criterion in the next year.
I would love to see that. And I agree. Criterion's, I at this point, I probably have about 100 of them. And I think they're like the top tier, them and like Shout Factory and Arrow. Like they probably make the best
Arrow's
releases.
Great.
Yeah, they make the best releases. And but.
Because it's not just about the movie. It's about the artwork that they repackage.
The supplements.
The supplement, everything. It's a whole thing, and they're a little pricey. But anybody that's buying Criterion, buy during the sale. They're half off. That's the way to do it. That's how you don't. I always joke around saying, I hope these Criterions I can live in them when I'm broke. Yeah. But buy them on sale, and you'll be better off.
Hey, you'll be out there on the street, and everyone has their cardboard box. You'll have a constructed Criterion.
That's what I always say. Yeah. I'm going to construct my homeless street house with Criterions.
It's like those little card towers that we used to
put on tables.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yes, I mean, Mark, I know we talked about your previous projects. Do you want to kind of talk about your upcoming projects before we get out of here?
Sure. I will say one cool thing doing this podcast. Today is the 7-year anniversary of us premiering at Toronto. We premiered on this day 7 years ago.
Didn't even mean to do that, but that's
so awesome. It's interesting that we did today.
That's cool.
Yeah, I'm working on my next film, Fear of Flying. It's ready to go. We just weren't able to do it because COVID hit. So we're probably going to do it right away as soon as this plague leaves us. And I have a project that I'm close on. It just keeps getting pushed back because of actors or money or whatnot. And it's based on a book called How Soon Is Never. It's about a guy, a rock journalist who tries to reunite his favorite band, and his favorite band happens to be the Smiths. And I'm really trying to get it done because the author, who became a good friend of mine, passed away, and I really want to get this movie made in his name, you know?
I remember reading about that.
So that's what I'm doing. That's what I'm trying to get done. And I'm just writing in the meantime, you know?
And where can people follow you or Fear of Flying? And
yeah, Fear of Flying has a Facebook page. We don't have a Twitter and Instagram. We do have a Facebook page. It's Fear of Flying. I don't have anything for How Soon Is Never just because we're not there yet.
Sure.
Fat has a movie page on Facebook, Fat movie page. I'm not huge with social media. I have my own little Instagram and Facebook and Twitter, but
sure.
it's I do Facebook pages for the movies. Yeah.
Yeah. So, okay. And then Tom and I, we have all of our social media, like we said, our websites to check out. We're going to be doing more episodes soon. We're going to have a friend on who just started her first feature. We're going to be doing a Chadwick Boseman film soon to kind of honor him and his recent passing.
Cool.
Because he was just a legend. So yeah, check us out. We're going to have this episode up in a couple days, which is exciting. And that's awesome. It's a 7-year anniversary. That's very cool to be a part of that. And
thank you.
Yeah, anything else either of you would like to say about this movie besides it's probably the best movie of the year?
Yes.
It's going to lock in the Safdie brothers for a while. Hopefully it does help Adam Sandler get out of the rut for those movies he did decades ago.
I hope it helps Adam Sandler make some money, you know?
Yeah, I think he needs that.
Yeah, he needs a little bit more.
I want him to have the respect that when somebody hears of a drama with Adam Sandler, an action movie, they don't go to Jack and Jill. They go, okay, the guy did enough good stuff.
Yeah.
What
my final word on this movie is it's a fucking masterpiece.
Brilliant.
That's my final word.
Brilliant, tense, great score, great ending.
It's just a perfect movie, and it's one of my favorite movies of the decade, let alone the year, you know?
It's a roller coaster ride. It's an intense movie. And
and honestly, too, I thought it was more intense on the second viewing. I think because of the knowledge of what happens to him, it actually just makes, again, I said earlier, makes the events like that much more unfortunate because he could stop it. So, yeah, I mean, I agree. It's the complete package, and the Safdies have proven it time and time again, and I'm going to watch anything they put out. I'll be there.
Me too. I'm going to go back and watch all their stuff. I'm going to rewatch this movie. Look for it on Criterion. If you haven't seen it, go and watch it. Go on Netflix. Everybody's got Netflix. It's a little longer, but it's worth it. And you're going to love it. And you're going to love all the actors in it too. I mean, it's...
Yes.
But yeah, I want to say thank you again, Mark, for coming on, being our first guest.
Thank you for coming
and giving your expertise. It was wonderful. So,
guys, thank you. This was amazing, and I think you guys got a really cool podcast. And I feel like we've really connected. I love you guys. Thank you.
We love you.
Thank you.
Hey,
so what happens now? What happens now? I just hang up and go back to my sad, lonely life.
Your normal life. We'll do this again when Flying comes out. And
all right, perfect.
Yeah, we'll let you know when the episode's out.
All right, cool, guys.
Perfect.
Thank you guys very much.
Hey,
thank you, everybody.
Bye, y'all.
Bye, audience.
Bye.
Cool.
Tom, what do we do? Do we just kind of we didn't cover movie news on this episode just because I think we really dove in, and with the guests there was just so much to cover. I mean, that was an amazing conversation. We could have gone for hours. I learned a lot about the movie and everything. Do you want to just kind of do some of the movie news? We'll wrap up.
Yeah. Do you want to? I guess we can insert that at the end of this. So
sure. Yeah. We'll just do it as is right now if you want.
Yeah.
So Tom recently saw Tenet 3 times in theaters.
Yeah. Did not expect to do that, but I'm glad I did, honestly, because it was fun and I miss the movies.
Yeah,
so much.
We will point out, COVID is still crazy. It's spiking in a lot of places. I'm not going out, just because the kind of people I'm around right now. But I would say if you are going to go to the movies, make sure the theater is taking the right precaution. I know AMC, when you buy the ticket, it blocks out the seats around you. just make sure if you do go to the movies, they're handling things correctly. But
Yeah.
tell us about your Tenet review.
Yeah, I'll talk about it quickly. It's funny because the first time I saw it, and this even went for Dunkirk, Nolan's previous film, but when I got out of it, I was like, I liked it, but I felt like it was messy, and still, after seeing it 3 times, I think it's his most exposition heavy, which might not be saying much because a lot of his movies have pretty heavy exposition, but this one felt pretty forced. Like at times, it feels like information overload. But I will say, I mean, it's a spectacle. It like some of the most inventive action scenes I've seen yet in my life out of any movie. I think John David Washington is really great here. He's very stoic, badass kind of CIA spy, and I'd say this is probably the closest Nolan has come to making his own Bond movie because
I've heard it's James Bond on acid.
Because it has like this
awesome.
and honestly, because it has the whole time inversion thing. It has this whole plot again stopping like a nuclear holocaust, World War III, and it's fun. It's fun to watch, and I think that the time inversion stuff again, some of these sequences are like it really makes you think how the hell he pulled this off, which again is something he kind of does in every movie he makes. You're like, there's always something where he kind of changes the game a little bit, and you're like, oh, like he's doing something different here. I would have liked if he went from more of like if he kind of maintained that more tightened kind of runtime like he did with Dunkirk being his shortest movie, but ultimately I think Tenet's great and you should obviously check it out, which isn't saying much because it's a new Nolan movie. Go see it, obviously, and like Mikey said, be safe. I know so far I saw it 3 times in 3 different theaters. I saw it once first in Regal, then AMC, and then at the Plaza Theater in Atlanta, which was amazing because I saw it in 70 millimeter, but the first 2, probably that's the way you're probably going to see it because they're the 2 biggest chains in America. And they both are on top of things. They have the dividers and lines. They have the plexiglass in front of the cashiers. Every seat is staggered and everything. And so, wear a mask, do your part because that's what we all have to do. And if we do that, we can all enjoy the movie and hopefully not get sick. So,
yeah, and like I said, definitely, if it's a smaller theater, of course you want to support them, but just make sure they're doing the right things that the bigger chains can afford to do. And I mean, I know some theaters are only 40% filled, which is definitely their way of saying, hey, come back, enjoy doing your favorite thing. But like, we're not going to probably make a lot off of this, but like, come back, be safe, and try to enjoy it.
And honestly, like, AMC is doing the 40% capacity, but I noticed when I was looking at the runtimes the other day, they're doing like 30% off ticket prices on like most times show times. So like, get a ticket for like $5-6. And I mean, chances are too, depending on the movie you see, you're probably not even going to have like anybody in your theater. It's funny, when I was back home recently, I saw another movie in theaters actually with my mom the day after I saw Tenet. We saw Writing on the Bathroom Walls, which pretty good movie. Charlie Plummer's in it. Honestly, I'm calling it now. That kid's gonna go on and give some of the best performances ever. He's an incredible like young actor, and we were the only 2 people in that theater. So it's like really like zero risk at that point. So
and if you get in the theater and feel like you're not safe, feel free to leave because these movies will be coming to DVD soon. You'll find other ways. I can't wait to see Tenet, even though I know it's not made for. It's like watching Avatar or Ready Player One. You see it in theaters in IMAX 3D, and then it's on TV, and you're like, nope, I can't do this.
Yeah, well, hopefully you'll have a good, at least like home system set up, so watch it on a nice TV and good surround sound. You'll still get a similar effect,
Shut the lights off. And also, exactly. New Mutants is finally in theaters after a lot of setbacks. I'm not going to theaters now, but that is a movie I've been waiting for years. Doctor Strange, the sequel, is going to be the second horror movie in the kind of Marvel universe. X-Men is the first. This one, New Mutants, is the first horror movie in that line, which is really cool. The Batman trailer dropped. Back to Robert Pattinson, Colin Farrell, Paul Dano. Just a great cast. Zoe Kravitz, Andy Serkis.
What a cast, man!
It's a indie Batman, which Pattinson was made for. I know he recently got COVID being on set for it, so of course. We're hoping to hear good news on the other end of that. It's a scary time now.
I know a lot of actors seemed to have gotten, or some big, like Idris, like back when this COVID first hit, Idris Elba got it. Tom Hanks. Yeah.
The Rock has it now.
Yeah. Oh yeah. The Rock and his whole family too. So like praying for those guys, and I'm sure they'll be fine. But Yeah, it's unfortunate because, this is, I know I'm kind of bleeding into a different topic, but we have so many big productions that are shutting down, even though it's crazy because, these productions have the most money and resources to handle this, but they're still getting people sick, which is very unfortunate because I had mentioned the first episode, I actually work in security on film sets, and our company apparently has a bunch of contracts coming up, and I'm hoping we're going to be good. We're going to be able to maintain work, but it's hard to say at this point. Who knows? Like, I don't know. I guess, again, it really boils down to, I guess, again, individual action, how well everyone's doing to wear a mask and social distance. But, obviously on the job, it's a little more tricky than that, but we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens.
Well, I mean, some upcoming news for movies that are hopefully going to come out when the world settles down is a little safer. The Suicide Squad, the trailer has not dropped. James Gunn is taking this on. He's going from Marvel, Guardians of the Galaxy, to DC, which I don't think anybody's really done in this capacity. There is a feature out where you can learn about interviews with the cast. I'm excited for so many actors in that. I thought the first one was one of the worst movies I've seen. I think this one's going to be a big difference. And then Zack Snyder's Justice League. He's doing his own version of Justice League, what he wanted. It's going to be 4 hours on HBO Max, broken up into 1 hour segments. So I'm really excited to kind of see that because
have you seen the original?
League. I did, and it's like Suicide Squad. If you took the director of that and he said, "Here's what I wanted," I would definitely be interested. I would give it another shot, and that's what Justice League is his cut.
Yeah, I'll probably check it out because honestly, I still have not seen Justice League or Batman versus Superman, and those are interesting because there's a lot of people that like absolutely fucking love those movies, and then there's a lot of people that absolutely hate them. Like, it's very polarizing, which is interesting to me because I've heard specifically about Batman versus Superman that like it's just a very weird movie. Like Jesse Eisenberg gives like the weirdest performance ever, and I've heard just all these little strange features about it. So like,
yeah,
I'll probably watch it for years. I was like, I just don't want to sit through it. Like, I honestly just after Suicide Squad and Man of Steel, I was like, no. Well, especially I agree with you on Suicide Squad. I hate that movie a lot. But
yeah,
but I think this new one, that little featurette they put out, that looks pretty
so
cool.
Badass.
It looked to me like what that one looks like it has that the original didn't is like more color, I think a lot more energy, and it looks like they're really taking more from the original source material. Because you have a much bigger cast in this one.
I'm excited for the shark. I don't follow the comics or anything. But
yeah,
I'm excited for the sharks. I'm excited for Pete Davidson, for John Cena, Flula Borg. I'm excited for Idris Elba. I just learned that Idris Elba, James Gunn has never written a role for somebody he hasn't met, but he wrote a role in this movie for Idris Elba specifically and was like, I need you to play this role and nobody else. And then, of course, I mean, James Gunn in Guardians, his brother Sean plays the raccoon. If you haven't seen The Belko Experiment, it's a movie that James Gunn dreamed of. It was a nightmare he made, and Michael Rooker is in that with Sean Gunn. They're both in the Suicide Squad. And then if you want a Superman movie to watch, James Gunn's Brightburn.
I still got to see that. That looks good.
It's a movie about what if Superman was Superman, but used his power for really, really bad. And it's exactly an hour and 29, hour and 30 minutes. Me and my wife saw it in theaters. It's extremely disturbing. And I like messed up movies. It's very dark. Maybe it's so disturbing because you're so familiar to the kind of warm, comfy Superman that we know. But it was even advertised as what if Superman's bad. It's not like, hey, this movie is reflective of if a person got superpowers. It's straight up if Superman was bad. I still recommend it.
It's funny because both those ideas you mentioned, that's basically what The Boys is about, the Amazon Prime show.
I need to watch that. That's on my list.
A little bit more, I guess, television news. That season 2 was just put out early, and I watched episode 1, and yeah, Mike, you'll love that show. It is I
need to watch it.
To me, it's one of the most like inventive and fresh kind of superhero visual like shows or movies I've seen in like quite some time. It is very funny, very, very, very disturbing. Like there are so many, like every episode has something, and it's funny because I think shock value can get kind of old, but like that show does it in such a unique way where it's like, oh no, it feels earned is what I'm saying. It feels earned when they do something really crazy, and I'm excited to finish season 2. I know they're doing I think it seems like now streaming services are starting to do the original like weekly episodes, like putting them episode, which I kind of like actually.
Yeah, it gives you something to look forward to, and you still have something coming up.
because people
Yeah.
are like, no, like I want to binge it all. But honestly, like I watched most of Breaking Bad that way, and like it was so amazing. Like, and it sucks, but like when it's like to watch, you have to wait a whole week for the next episode. It's just a fun thing, and it kind of rackets up that tension and builds anticipation, which is fun. So I'm kind of glad that the streaming services are starting to do that. But yeah, a lot of new DC news for sure.
I would have loved to see the Batman movie with Ben Affleck directing and starring as Batman. I would have loved to see that. And then more DC news, Wonder Woman. The first Wonder Woman is probably the best thing DC has done as far as feature live action. Because I know their cartoons are always getting a lot of good attention and feedback. But Wonder Woman, the first one, was incredible. The trailer's out for the new one. I think the last James Bond trailer before the movie comes out, the last Daniel Craig one, they just released their last trailer. And then Antlers, Guillermo del Toro produced, movie starring Kerry Russell and Jesse Plemons, is unfortunately pushed back to February of next year. Free Guy with Ryan Reynolds was supposed to come out this summer. It's about a guy in a video game, just an extra who finds out he kind of has that, existentialism or whatever you want to call it. And it's super interesting. He kind of winds up taking on a better role in the video game. And both of those were pushed back. So there's still a lot to look forward to in a way. But there's also a million things to watch on Netflix, TV, Hulu, anything like that. Yeah, you have any recommendations for movies?
Well, I already recommended Tenet. Obviously, it's one you should check out, and it's one I definitely. Even though again the first viewing I wasn't like huge on it, after seeing it a couple more times, I'm like, no, it is the real deal, and I think there's a lot to admire about it. Even though I think that I would like future Nolan movies, or at least some of them. I hope he gets a different writer, because I don't think he's a bad writer per se. I just think that there are some things that could be improved upon, but ultimately a recommendation. And then I also mentioned Writing on the Bathroom Walls, which stars Charlie Plummer as a senior in high school who is diagnosed with schizophrenia, and he sees three people in his head. One of them is played by Anna Sophia. What's her name? And is it Anna Sophia Robb, or I forget her name? She was in like Bridge to Terabithia and all these like old, young kids movies from the last 2 decades, but she's in it. She's like a vision of someone he sees in his head, and it basically shows how he tries to navigate the rest of high school, trying to get into a culinary school and meeting a girl, trying to hide this fact because he feels like it's a crutch, and that he doesn't want people to kind of treat him differently because of it. And honestly, really, just really well done. It's a very nice kind of young adult kind of movie, and like I said, I think everyone's really good in it, especially Charlie Plummer, who, like I said, I've only seen him in that, and I think All the Money in the World, that Ridley Scott movie that came out like 2 or 3 years ago. But he's fantastic. I really do think he's gonna like end up being in a movie one day that people just like the world is just gonna fawn over, because I don't know, you can just tell sometimes. So
I've been watching a lot of movies. I've been watching The Sopranos. I think I'm on season 5 out of 6
I'm actually
now.
just starting that with my roommate, because my roommate hasn't seen it. So
Yeah.
we're watching it together.
You've seen it? Yeah.
Actually, okay, I've seen the first 4 seasons.
Okay.
For some reason, I don't know why the fuck I stopped, but I was watching this like 8 years ago, and I think I just got busy with college, and I just for some reason didn't finish it. But I'm rewatching it now, and it's the best show. It's so good.
Post college, man. That's when you really watch a lot of TV.
Yeah.
I've been watching that, and then I started the X-Files. I watched it a lot with my sister growing up when she had it on, but I never really watched it when I was older, and I think I'll appreciate it a lot more. So I kind of restarted X-Files, and then been watching 90 Day Fiancé with my wife, embarrassingly enough. But for me, I would recommend I'm going back and watching Black Mirror, and showing it to me and my wife are living with my wife's parents now, so we're showing them some of our favorite Black Mirror episodes, and then episodes. Have you ever seen Episodes?
No, you recommended it to me once, I think.
I thought I watched all of it. It's on Netflix, and it's basically about a British couple. They make this huge movie, and then Hollywood pulls them over to California, and they're like, we want to remake it. They have Matt LeBlanc come on as Matt LeBlanc. He plays himself in the show, a very fabricated version, and he stars in the show, and it's a train wreck of a show. And it's just I've never been to Hollywood. I've heard things, I've read things about the industry, but there's a lot of jokes in there that are very, very funny. There's one scene where like the woman follows Matt LeBlanc to like Emmy parties and things so she can get the goodie bags. Like all she wants is the goodie bags, and that's how he can like get her to like help him out with things. He brings her to get goodie bags and the gift bags. But it's just one of the funniest shows. And like seeing Matt LeBlanc play himself and some of the other friends, people come on in. Jay Leno plays himself and Matt LeBlanc goes on. It's funny. Maybe I'll have more movies for you next time. But yeah, check us out. Like I said, we are on Twitter as Weiliotis, WEILIOTIS.
Yep.
It was too long to do our whole podcast name. But Instagram, Facebook.
Yeah, just
Twitter.
type in Weiliotis podcast on Google. Those will probably pop
Type in
up.
Weiliotis. I think I did it before just to see where we were. And I mean, there's
Yeah.
not. If you're gonna start a band or a podcast, put your names together because it's never been done. It's easy.
Exactly.
Yeah. So we'll have this episode up on YouTube. You can watch our video like this, or you can just listen to it. Spotify, Apple.
And our home is Buzzsprout, so Buzzsprout also you can listen to there. But yeah, all the ones Mikey just mentioned, we're already on Spotify, iTunes, which is awesome. So
I think we had 30 downloads on Buzzsprout for our last one, which is awesome for a first episode.
Good. And also shout out to everybody that reached out to us because we got a lot of people on Facebook that joined our group, and I think Mikey and I both had people just reach out to us personally, and I had some old friends from high school that were impressed and happy to see me doing this, and I thank you all. So thank you for the support. It means a lot. So
somebody even said, I think it was one of your friends was like, I hated Cabin in the Woods, but you made me think of it in a different light. I'm gonna go back and rewatch it, and it's like, hey, we helped change one person's opinion. Like, that's pretty good. You know?
Yeah. Oh yeah. That was Mike. Shout out to Mike. He's a great guy, and yeah, that's the thing. Like, just to get that feedback where someone's just the fact that someone said they now saw this movie in a different light because of what we said is amazing. Because I don't think ultimately we're trying to like change anyone's opinion, but we're hopefully just giving a new perspective, and hopefully we also gain perspectives from our viewers because we'll try to post. Definitely try to post the movie we're talking about a couple days ahead of the podcast. So hopefully we can get some feedback, comments from you. Maybe we'll even highlight that in the episode. So yeah, stay tuned for more stuff.
We're gonna have more guests on. We already had a friend and follower reach out to be on it, which is awesome and very exciting. So we're just trying to figure out how, when Tom and I are fully settled, when we can get the next few episodes out. We're going to try to do as many as possible because we're having fun. Like we said, we're going to do The Five Bloods, which is on Netflix next. Feel free to watch that in the meantime. Really cool Spike Lee movie. I haven't seen it yet, but it's basically about these guys in Vietnam who hide a bunch of gold they find and they go back for it decades later. And it just looks like a mixed bag of everything. The trailer makes it look like a music video meets a Vietnam War movie, meets a buddies get back together, which are my favorite kind of movies, as you know, where people reunite after 10 years and they're all talking about where they're at. So it just looks great. Watch it on Netflix, and then you can listen to the podcast right when it comes out. And we'll have a friend on who just starred in her first movie. We'll hear more about just kind of that. I think that's a big thing we want to do is sometimes just talk about movies and sometimes just talk to people about making movies and about what it's like being an actor or a screenplay reader or a person who works in the lighting department, because that's all interesting to us.
I think if we can probably have it be a pretty delicate balancing act. We have maybe every other episode, one episode it'll be a strictly film analysis, just like this in our previous episode, and then we'll do maybe another episode we'll do the interview style and bring on someone in the industry or who has made a project, who has made a short film, acted, worked behind the scenes, and we'll interview them and kind of analyze their project as well. So and then that way again, just so we kind of cover all bases, and obviously this podcast, like Mike said, in general, it's just all about film. So anything we can do to kind of promote our kind of local friends and analyze film is what it's all about. So
and next month, Halloween movies.
Yes, dude. Yes. We're both very pumped for that. We gotta discuss that. So we might even do a poll online. So you guys can help us pick some movies.
I'm having a baby next month, but I also love Halloween and horror movies. So I'll try to find a way to juggle it. If not, maybe we'll record like 10 episodes the first week of October, just so we have them.
Yeah. Well, we should probably do that. And honestly, too, like because you're having a baby, we should definitely watch Rosemary's Baby and talk about that.
Good, yeah, because there's not enough anxiety and fear already.
Exactly. I just want to scare the shit out of you.
I think I watched that as a kid. My mom probably showed it to me when I was younger, so that's a movie I would like to go back and revisit. Definitely, that sounds good to me.
Yeah, so we'll come at you soon with some good horror analysis, and hopefully we'll get some good people on too. I already know some people we could bring on to discuss horror movies, so we'll get that at you soon. More episodes to come.
Thank you, everybody. And yeah, hit us up on social media. Let us know what you think. And leave a review, good or bad. Leave a comment, good or bad. Just let us know you're listening. And yeah.
Until next time. Bye.
Bye.